I want to start saying that Advent doesn't start with glitter, okay? It doesn't. No, sorry. It starts with longing. It begins in a quiet tension between what we hope life could be and what we are actually living, right? We always have this conflict within us. For many of us, the weeks before Christmas are not filled with joy. And joy is today's theme. They are filled with pressure, financial stress, family tension, loneliness, unanswered prayers, social media feeding us perfect lights and perfect families and perfect smiles, while inside we feel tired, we feel stretched, thin, we feel empty. And this is the honest reality of modern life. We are surrounded by decorations, but we are starving for joy. That's exactly why the message of Advent is so powerful for me and so powerful for you. It's not a fairy tale for people who already feel good. No, it's a declaration for people who are barely holding on. And Isaiah doesn't announce comfort. Isaiah announces a king. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and a government will be on his shoulder. That's not soft language, you see that? That's strong, very strong language. God is not offering you a motivational quote. He's offering you his own son as the answer to a broken world. Then Luke chapter 2 takes us to a cold, silent field where shepherds, they are tired, they are overlooked, they are working the night shift, are suddenly interrupted by glory. Again, not in the palace, not in a cathedral, but in the middle of ordinary, exhausting life. Very similar to your life. And the first words they hear are, do not be happy, right? No, do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Great joy for all the people, not joy for the privileged, not joy for the perfect. You know that kind of person you want to be? Yeah, not that one. Joy for you, the way you are, for the tired, for the anxious, for the overlooked. So we are here today on this third Sunday of the Advent, not to pretend everything is fine, okay? Well, it's about daring to believe that even in the middle of frustration, even in the middle of disappointment, even in the middle of delay, God has stepped into our world, into our life. So Christmas is not about escape. Oh, nice, Christmas is coming, so I will escape reality. No, Christmas, it's about arrival. Christmas is not about ignoring pain, that pain that you are feeling. Pain in your body, pain in your mind. Christmas is about God entering our pain with light, with hope, with purpose. So if you are here today, if you came here today feeling drained, or perhaps feeling discouraged, or perhaps feeling distant from joy, joy is not something that you are experiencing nowadays, this message for you. Because this season, Advent, is not calling you to fake a smile, okay? It's inviting you to lift your eyes and see what God has already done. A child has been born, and with him joy has entered the world. Some things I learned about joy. Joy begins when we realize God has taken control. I'm not sure if you ever thought about that, but one of the most powerful lines in Isaiah is actually easy to overlook because we pay too much attention on other things in the text. But this changes everything. Look at this. And the government will be on your shoulders, right? No, his shoulders. Have you ever thought about that? This is not poetic filler. This is theology with a muscle. Isaiah is saying that the weight of the world, its chaos, its injustice, its corruption, its fear, its confusion does not rest on your shoulders. You don't have to solve that. It rests on God's. I know that we live in a time where everyone else feels like they must hold everything together, right? Their careers, and then relationships, and then finances, and then mental health, and then their plans. And the more we try to control everything that happens to me, and I'm sure that happens with you, the more anxious and joyless we become. Isn't that true? It is. When you enter your house and you see a mess inside your house, you feel joyless because you have this feeling that you have to control everything. But Advent reminds us of a very dangerous truth. I mean, dangerous to our pride, but healing to our soul. You were never meant to be in charge of finding joy. Joy is given to you. The child born in Bethlehem is not fragile. He's sovereign. The Son of God given to us is not weak. He is mighty. He is Wonderful Counsellor. That is, His wisdom is flawless. He is mighty God. His power is unlimited. He is everlasting Father. His care is permanent. He is the Prince of Peace. He doesn't just give peace. He is peace. The thing is that joy starts returning to your life when you stop trying to be your own Savior and solve everything that is wrong in your life. Think about the shepherds in Luke 2, okay? They are just doing their job. They are watching sheep, they are surviving shifts, they are exhausted, they are bored, they are cold. Why? Because this is real life. This is what I face. This is what you face. And God interrupts their ordinary night with extraordinary news. Notice, their joy, the joy of the shepherds, didn't come from a change in their problems. I mean, their job didn't change. Their financial status didn't change. Even the temperature didn't change. It was still cold. So what changed? Their perspective. God is at work even when life feels ordinary. Even when you do not accomplish those things you were expecting to. This is where many people lose their joy in December, actually, because they are waiting for life to get easier before they allow themselves to rejoice. They say, I will feel better when this problem is solved. Or, I will be joyful, yes I will, but when this pain I'm feeling goes away. Oh yeah, that's right, I will relax when everything is under control. But here's the thing, the gospel flips that logic. Did you notice? Because joy is not the reward for a perfect life. Joy is the response of a present Savior. When you trust Him, when you trust in His presence, joy is what you're going to feel. When the angels say, do not be afraid, they are not being polite. They are not Canadian angels. They are confronting the fear that dominates us. Our fears today may be different from their fears. I know that. But we are afraid too. You are afraid. You fear loss, fear of failure, fear of the future, fear of being invisible or being alone. And what breaks that fear? Well, let me tell you, it's not productivity. It's not achievements. It's not success. It's not self-help. It's a child, the Savior, the Lord. And when we accept that the government of our lives is on His shoulders, not our shoulders, something supernatural begins to happen. The pressure eases. The anxiety loosens its grip. The constant mental noise that we have here gets quieter. And you know what? That's when joy begins. Not when life becomes easy, but when we stop carrying what was never meant to be ours. The second thing I learned about joy is this. Joy breaks in when God steps into the ordinary. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to wait for something extraordinary to happen in your life. One of the most beautiful and I think underrated truths of the Christmas story is this. God didn't announce the birth of Jesus to kings first. He announced it to shepherds. Why this is so important? Because every story that you have in ancient civilizations, always the kings and more important people receive good news from everywhere, from God or from every other country. In the Christmas story, the ones who received good news were people, simple people like the shepherds, not influencers. Shepherds, I don't know if you know that, but let me tell you that I think it's important to reveal that to you. The shepherds who received the message of the angels, they didn't have a YouTube channel. They didn't have an Instagram account. Not influencers, not political leaders, not, that's crazy, right? Even not religious elites, but night shift workers. I'm talking about dirt under their fingernails people. People who smelled like sheep. People who lived under open skies. The kind of people society barely noticed. Maybe the kind of people that you are, that I am. And that's exactly what God chose to surprise. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. Of course they were terrified. I would be terrified. God's glory has a way of exposing how tired and small we feel, right? When God's glory shows up, it doesn't flatter us. It confronts us. So of course we are terrified, but then comes the sentence that changes everything. Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Again, not just the strong, not just the stable, not just the spiritually impressive. No, this is important because many people walk into December believing that joy is for the other people, not them. They think joy is for the ones who are not grieving. They think joy is for the ones who didn't lose someone this year, or for the ones whose prayers were answered in time or on time, for the ones whose bank accounts are not screaming. No, the angels didn't offer conditional joy. They announced joy. Not fix your life and then you can be joyful. No, but a Savior has been born, and that changes everything. And this is Advent theology, actually. God doesn't wait for us to climb up to Him. You see, God climbs down to us. Accept that. And where does God land? Not in a palace, not in a temple, not in comfort, but a feeding trough, a borrowed place, a cold, underestimated place. Here are some things I really believe you should realize this morning. If God is willing to be born in a manger, He's not afraid of your messy season or your messy life. If God invade a field full of tired shepherds, then He can invade your exhausted mind. He can invade your broken relationships, maybe your friends or family, I don't know. He can invade your delayed dreams. He can't invade your lovely December, or I would say lonely December. The shepherds didn't experience joy because life suddenly became easy. No, they experienced joy because they discovered that their ordinary night had become holy ground. Let that sink into your mind. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop believing the lie that you have to be perfect before you can receive God's joy. Otherwise, you will never receive it. That's a lie. Joy happens because God doesn't avoid your life. God entered your life. And if God is close, joy is always closer than you think. And here's the third thing I learned about joy. Joy grows when we move from spectators to messengers. There is a critical detail here in chapter 2 of the Gospel of Luke that many people read too quickly, I think. After the angels leave, the shepherds, they do something, right? But they don't sit around arguing theology. They don't debate what just happened. They don't write a complaint about how tired they are. They said, let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about. They moved. Joy doesn't deepen through observation. Joy deepens through obedience and participation in God's kingdom. This is where many people get stuck during Advent, actually, because they hear the message. Yeah, they sing the songs. They attend services sometimes. They scroll through Christmas posts, but they stay still. And the shepherds teach us something powerful. Joy grows when you take a step toward what God has revealed. Have you noticed that in the story? They hurried to someplace, to Bethlehem in this case. And when they found Mary and Joseph and the baby, something shift inside them. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, right? You don't see in the Bible one of the shepherds saying, I thought he would be taller. No. They saw the baby. Wow, that's the miracle. Let's go out there and spread that. They didn't just consume the miracle. They became carriers of the miracle. They participate in the miracle. They participate of the story. Sometimes we wait so long to be important, and then God gives us a chance to participate as characters, perhaps not main characters, but characters in the beautiful story He is building around us in our neighborhood, with our friends, of the people around us. We say, no, we don't want to go. I don't like the script of this story, so I do not want to participate in this story. I don't want to be a character in this story. So the consequences of this is actually huge, because some people are joyless not because God is not working, but because they have kept their faith silent. They treat their faith as something ordinary. They take for granted their very own wonderful realization about how much powerful God has been in their lives. I mean, they know God is acting in their lives. They know God is powerful. They know that their own awareness of God's presence in their life is important, and they love that. They appreciate that, but they just don't let people know about it. So what happens? Well, they treat Christmas like a private experience. Sorry, no, I have my own Christmas here. You are not allowed to enter. Instead of what these guys did here, an explosion of hope. You see, those shepherds, they didn't become joyful because they understood the whole theology behind Christmas. No, they became joyful because they participated, right? The shepherds returned glorifying and praising God. They returned where? To the same fields, to the same jobs, to the same responsibilities, but they were not the same people. That's the power of real joy. Joy doesn't remove your problems. Joy transforms your perspective. You don't need new achievements to experience joy. You don't need a new house, a new car. You need a revelation of who Jesus is. What you need is a life in Jesus through His grace. You need to share this new life you have received. Joy doesn't grow necessarily when everything changes for you. Joy usually grows when you decide to move toward God, and when you speak what He has done to people, when you treasure what He is doing and you witness that to people. And that kind of joy, well, no disappointment cancel it. So what we can do with that? What should we do then? I think Advent does not promise a perfect December, right? If you're waiting for that, I'm sorry for disappointing you. Advent promised a present Savior, and Isaiah declared it long before Bethlehem felt real. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on His shoulders, and He will be called Wonderful Counsellor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Beautiful, it's so beautiful. But this was not poetry for people who had it all together. It was prophecy for people like you and me, living under pressure, under fear, under waiting. And then Luke shows us the promise becoming flesh, not in a palace, not in comfort, but in the manger. Announced to a tired group of shepherds, wrapped in ordinary silence and holy glory. So if you are living this season without joy, I want you to hear this clearly, okay? You are not broken beyond hope. You are not forgotten by God. You are not invisible by God. Because the same God who lit up a dark field of His glory is standing close to your life right now. Do not be afraid, because I bring you good news. Remember this every day, that will cause great joy for all the people. Not for some, not for the lucky, not for the perfect, for you. For you. Joy is not found by pretending everything is okay. Joy is found by trusting that God has already stepped into what is not okay. And here's the heart of Advent, okay? Darkness didn't overcome the light. Fear didn't cancel the promise. Pain didn't stop the plan. It doesn't matter what is going on around us. A child was born. A son was given. And because of that, our story isn't finished. It's being redeemed every day. Here's one of the most beautiful verses of this passage. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. Why? Because joy has two different kinds of rhythms. One rhythm is outward. It's praise and testimony. It's praising Lord and sharing your faith with people. But one rhythm is inward, reflecting and wonder. And Advent teaches us to slow down enough to treasure what God is doing. God's joy is not shallow hype. It's deep-rooted confidence that God is present. So this week, we still have 1 week until next Sunday, and we will have our lunch on next Sunday. This week, I want you to do this. Look to the manger. Look to the child. Look to the Prince of Peace. Because when God enters the world, despair loses, darkness weakens, joy, real, deep, unshakable joy begins.